If, on a silent night, a heavenly visitor appeared to you, would you be ready to face your faith and your deepest fears? It was a night like no other, and the valley of Jabbok was wrapped in a thick silence, as if time itself had paused. Jacob, a man shaped by battles and transformations, was alone, reflecting on everything that had led him to this crucial moment. He knew that his encounter with his brother Esau, the one he had deceived, was near, and this thought tormented him. Pain, fear, and memories of his past unsettled him like an inner storm. After years of running from the consequences of his actions, Jacob was finally about to face the man he had wronged. Esau had sworn revenge because of Jacob's deception in stealing the blessing of their father, Isaac. This burden had followed Jacob since the day he had left home. Now, after years in exile and arduous service, he was returning to his father's land, yet he had no idea how his brother would receive him. After sending his family, servants, and herds across the river ahead of him, Jacob sought a moment of solitude. He knew he needed time to pray, to reflect, and to strengthen himself spiritually. Amidst the heavy quiet of that night, he cried out to God, asking for protection, wisdom, and a renewed heart. His prayer was intense, carrying the urgency of one facing his greatest fears. But then, in the darkness of the night, something extraordinary happened. Jacob, still deep in prayer and thoughts, sensed a presence. Suddenly, a figure appeared before him. Who was this stranger? Was he human? An adversary? Jacob prepared himself to defend, but quickly realized this visitor was no ordinary person. He was a divine being, an angel sent by God himself. Without hesitation, the mysterious figure challenged him, and an unprecedented struggle began. A fight that echoed through eternity. Jacob and the angel grappled in a struggle that seemed to have no end. The night wore on, but neither Jacob nor the angel gave way. The fight was fierce, each movement carrying not just physical strength but a spiritual battle unlike any Jacob had ever known. They fought with intensity, each move laden with the weight of a lifetime. Jacob felt his muscles burning, sweat pouring down his face as he wrestled with a supernatural force. Yet he did not give up. Something in his heart drove him, a relentless determination not to be defeated. Jacob stood before something far greater than himself, and he knew it. This battle represented all he had gone through: his search for blessings, his escape from the mistakes of his past, and the burning desire to discover his true identity. As the struggle continued through the night, Jacob began to understand that this was no ordinary fight. He was wrestling not only with a heavenly figure but with his own fears, his own faults, and everything that separated him from a true relationship with God. Have you ever felt as if there were battles in your life that seemed impossible to win? Want to hear more stories like this that reveal secrets of faith and courage? Then subscribe to our channel, Biblical Tales and Prayers, and follow inspiring content that will strengthen your faith and bring deep revelations to your daily life. The blessing and transformation. When dawn finally began to light up the sky, the battle reached its climax. Exhausted and nearly without strength, Jacob held onto the angel with all the determination he had left. In an act of faith and courage, he declared, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." The angel looked at him, and with a voice full of authority and compassion, responded, "What is your name?" Panting and with a heart now beating with a new perspective, Jacob replied, "My name is Jacob." The angel's response, however, surprised Jacob. He said, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with men, and have prevailed." That moment changed Jacob's life forever. The angel touched Jacob's hip, and he immediately felt a deep pain. His leg was now injured, and he limped from that day forward. But this touch was no mere physical mark. It was the sign of a spiritual change. From then on, Jacob, now Israel, would never be the same. This story reminds us that often our greatest struggles are opportunities for rebirth and spiritual growth. Jacob found his true identity by surrendering entirely to the fight, by not giving up even in the face of pain and weakness. This is the kind of faith God honors, the kind of faith that transforms a life. If this message touched your heart, let us accompany you on your journey of faith and discoveries. Subscribe to Biblical Tales and Prayers for more stories that reveal the power and love of God in the midst of our daily battles. Israel's new identity. With a new name and a new purpose, Israel rose, now marked physically and spiritually by his encounter with the angel. He knew that in facing Esau, he was no longer alone. He was no longer the deceiving Jacob, but the blessed, transformed Israel. From that moment, he would no longer face life with only his own strength, but with the certainty that God was with him. Israel understood that every battle is an opportunity to grow, to draw closer to God, and to find strength we never imagined we had. This story teaches us that we can overcome even the hardest battles when we surrender to God's will and allow Him to transform us. And you, are you ready to live your own journey of faith and transformation? Want to know more about biblical characters who faced incredible challenges? Don't miss the upcoming stories on our channel. Subscribe to Biblical Tales and Prayers and strengthen your faith with inspiring, profound content. The encounter with Esau. When the time finally came to meet Esau, Israel was ready, not only physically but spiritually. He had left behind the doubts and fears that had once consumed him. Instead of insecurity, his heart was filled with peace and confidence. To Israel's surprise, Esau welcomed him with open arms. Instead of revenge, there was forgiveness. The two brothers embraced, and the words that had seemed so hard to say were replaced by a gesture of reconciliation. This reunion would not have been possible without that night of struggle in Jabbok. This story is not only about a man who wrestled an angel, but about someone who faced himself, overcame his flaws, and was blessed. Like Jacob, we all have internal battles, and it is in our search for God that we find peace and transformation. Would you like to hear more stories like this to strengthen your faith? Subscribe to our channel, Biblical Tales and Prayers, and don't miss our upcoming videos.